All right, sweet. It says I have internet connection issues. It looks okay now.
Oh,
Okay.
fine.
All right, cool. So how you doing today, Mr. David Tate?
I am pretty good, pretty good.
Cool.
Same as always,
Good.
pretty much.
Glad to hear it.
Things don't really change that much for me. I'm pretty much always in the same kind of flow.
Okay. Well, hey, cheers to that. So, yeah, man, we chatted a little bit earlier just to test out Skype, and for people who don't know, David is he's doing me a favor by he can't see my face, but I can see his face, so he's just listening to me here, and he's being a trooper about it. So let's just get right into it. Let's say, how'd you get started learning about mushrooms, David?
All right. Well, this is sort of a long story, but I'll try to make it short. In my early 20s, when I was fresh out of the military, I was having a lot of really serious headaches all the time, and couldn't find anything to help me with that. So I started doing some research and found that psilocybin was being tested clinically for cluster headaches.
Yeah.
So I spent about 6 months researching that, and then probably another 3 to 6 months learning what to find, where to go look for it, how to identify it, and started looking for that, and found a medicine that really truly helps me. That was my start into mushrooms, and for about the first, I guess, 6 or 7 years of my mycological journey, it was strictly that. And then about 3-4 years ago, I started getting into learning other mushrooms, edibles, medicinals, and just trying to learn as much as I possibly can about the science.
Gotcha. I think a lot of people go down that path. They are interested in one type of mushroom. A lot of the times it's magic mushrooms. I mean, that's the case for me. I decided to get read up and studied on that one particular kind, and eventually I branched out into all other kinds of mushrooms. But it really just takes that initial interest in learning, and people eventually, jump into the whole identification game of edibles, magic, medicinals. So yeah.
Right. If you find one thing that you really that either is a great edible or that's a good medicinal or whatever the case is, eventually you're going to start wanting to learn about the other ones that are out there.
Yeah.
So it's been a pretty amazing journey so far.
Yeah. All right, love it. All right, just a question for this. I try to get rid of a lot of common misconceptions with these questions that I come up with. So, David, do all magic mushrooms grow on cow poo?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Tell me more about that.
Actually, the vast majority of psilocybin mushrooms typically grow on wood, as far as I know. Especially within the genus Psilocybe, there are a few that do grow on dung. You have Psilocybe cubensis, which is the most common. That's the one that everybody knows, the one that is the most widely cultivated in the world. It's the one that I started with, although I've always been one just to mostly go out and go find them in the wild. I really always enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But there's that, and then you have a few species of Paneolus or Paneolus. However, I'm terrible with the pronunciations, but
I say Paneolus. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, me too. But there's a few species of those that grow on dung as well, and then but the vast majority you have your Psilocybe ovoideocystidiata, you have caerulipes, caerulescens, cyanescens, azurescens, and wiley and allenii, and those are all wood growing. And actually, typically, your wood growing Psilocybe are usually your more potent as well.
Yeah.
And then you have your, a few species of Gymnopilus that grow on wood. Those are generally not very potent, but they are wood growing. So definitely the vast majority of, magic mushrooms do not grow on dung. There's only really a few that do.
Yep. So what I find with a lot of people who are kind of new to mushrooms, I tell them I might pick my own magic mushrooms, but I don't normally go to cow pastures to go find them, and they're just like, how do you know they're magic? Don't they grow on cow dung and cow patties? And that's just not the case.
So it's a common misconception with people who aren't versed in their mushrooms very well. People that are just getting into it, cubensis being the most commonly known of the psilocybin species, grows on dung, and that's the one that everybody knows.
Yeah, for whatever reason, I'm not sure why, but it's also the Psilocybe cubensis has a special relationship to humans because we've cultivated it so much. Maybe that's why. Yeah. It's just the easiest, one of the easiest to grow, one of the easiest to recognize because they call it gold caps. It's got a gold top, which is unlike a lot of other Psilocybe species.
Yeah, they're actually a really, really beautiful mushroom too, and I'll send you some pics of some of the wilds that I found back in my hunting days down in Louisiana. I had some really nice fields.
Cool.
But I'll send you some pics of those.
Yeah, send me some pictures, and I'm gonna probably actually add them in the video. Hopefully the viewers will be able to see what you send me later, because I'm trying to actually throw some pictures of mushrooms in the video as well.
Okay. So, yeah, I'll definitely do that.
Definitely send those to me. So Psilocybe cubensis was your first magic mushroom that you took?
That was my very first wild mushroom I ever ate.
Did it make you nervous to eat it?
Not.
Based on?
Not really.
Okay.
I did, like I said, I did about 6 months research on psilocybin, and then about another 3 to 6 months somewhere in that neighborhood worth of research, learning how to identify them before I ever went out. And then I brought them home and sat down with, some good descriptions and compared every single aspect of it, and felt pretty good about it.
Yeah.
So I went with it, and the rest is history, as they say.
Nice. So how easy? You said it's pretty easy for you to find them in your location?
Not currently.
Not currently. Well,
where I used to live, I had a couple of fields that I knew of that produced really, really well, and so it was very easy for me to get them back then. It's not quite so much anymore.
So just for the listeners, how easy or difficult would you say it is to actually find magic mushrooms in season?
Depends on what species you're looking for,
right.
Which is going to depend on where you live.
Right.
So, like I said, when I was in South Louisiana, cubensis grows like wildfire down there. I mean, they're just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
If you know the right places to look, you can easily fill a backpack in a matter of hours if you have a good producing field. But if you live other places, then you're looking for different species. So where I'm at right now, which I don't generally like to give my location, so I won't, but
sure.
There's I think maybe 5 or 6 species that grow in this area, but most of them are not very common here. So it's a little harder to find them. And actually, I've not found any this year in this area. I did visit my mom in Mississippi a while back and found a couple of little bitty baby cubes in her horse field, but it's actually been a very, very slow year for me on finding actives.
That reminds me of
last year was too. The only ones I found last year was 2 specimens of Pluteus americanus.
Oh wow!
And and some Gymnopilus. That was the only thing I found last year. But I was super excited about the Pluteus. That was probably my favorite find of the summer last year.
Yeah, I've been wanting to find that for so long. When I saw someone's Mushroom Observer picture of a bluing Pluteus, and I was like, holy cow, that looks like a lot of fun to find.
They're pretty cool. They're not very potent, at least not to what I could tell. I did eat the 2 that I found. I did eat them, and they weren't very strong. I got maybe a little body high off of them. It wasn't anything too potent or anything. Certainly nowhere near as potent as cubensis.
So just to reiterate, it directly depends on your location and the time of year to find magic mushrooms.
Well, time of year, yes and no. That again is going to depend on location and what species you're looking for. But location is key. Different species grow in different places. Not all of them grow everywhere. So if you go, like if say you live in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon, Washington area, you've got a huge list of wood-growing species that grow out there that you'll never find in the Southeast.
Yeah.
It's a whole different ecology out there. So you're gonna find different things. Time of year, again, it's going to depend on location and species, but say like when I was in Louisiana, I have actually found cubensis every single month out of the year.
That's crazy.
It just depends on how the weather is. If the weather is right for fruiting, they'll fruit.
Right.
The mycelium's there. It's just waiting for the conditions to be right to trigger it.
Yeah. I had this one spot for Psilocybe, caerulescens, or wilii.
Yeah.
And I found one little cluster on this hillside, and a couple years later we had a massive hurricane rain that just like swept through, and it was just like 2 weeks of just nonstop rain. And after that, the entire hillside was just swarming with them. And I had no idea the mycelium traveled just like way down the hill, like just away from the small cluster. The mycelium was everywhere. I had no idea. Yeah. But it only took that kind of rain in order for the whole hillside to blow up. But yeah, directly depends on. Yep. Yeah. That's why when people find things out of season, some people are like, "Holy crap, that's crazy! It's out of season." But there's just those little pockets of where the climate and ecology is perfect for it.
Yeah, and mushrooms don't care what time of the year it is.
No.
They care about what conditions they have in front of them. It's microclimates.
Yeah. They're fascinating, man, because we try to typify them. We try to attribute habits and patterns, but they'll surprise you almost all the time.
Oh, for sure.
So, can you talk a little bit more about how you use them for your headaches or medicinally? And you may have mentioned something about your depression too.
Yeah. So I've definitely had issues with depression over the years, and I had these headaches for like 10 years that just wouldn't stop. So as far as my personal medicinal use of them goes, I typically do well if I can once every month to 2 months, if I can get a good solid dose in, and just lay down, close my eyes, and just let it take effect and work. I'll usually get relief for a good solid month or two.
Wow.
And this is something I've been, I'm 10 years into using these on a fairly regular basis. So
That's fascinating.
It's really the only thing that's ever actually helped. My years ago, my doctors at the VA, they had me on, I think, 6 different medications at one point.
Jesus.
So yeah, it was pretty bad. I was on like 2 SSRIs, an anxiety pill, a benzodiazepine, a muscle relaxer, and 800 milligram Motrin every single day.
Holy cow, man! Holy shit.
Yeah. One day I finally got tired of it. It made me feel like a zombie. I didn't care about anyone or anything, and I finally got tired of it. And I said, I really need to. I need to get back to something that actually helps me. I've been on and off over the years with this, being that I was married and had kids, and my wife didn't like me doing mushrooms because she had a bad experience with them when she was younger. So, but after our divorce, I said, well, it's time for me to fix myself again, and I one day just quit taking all my meds and started using mushrooms again, and I've been a much happier, much more level overall ever since. So it's definitely been very, very good for my state of mind and my well-being.
So your wife didn't like you taking them, even though they were helping you?
She would not be. She won't have anything to do with them at all, regardless of who it is.
Because they're illegal?
Well, I don't think that's as much the issue.
Okay.
Because she smokes pot. So that I don't think was ever really the issue. I think it was more that she had a bad experience with it when she was a teenager, and just hasn't touched them ever since then, and didn't want to be around it, which is kind of sad. Now, I've got a theory that maybe we can go into at some point on mushrooms and females, which is kind of interesting, because I find that most females typically don't enjoy them near as much as most males do.
Huh. It'd be interesting to do a survey or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this, I don't know if that's the case overall, but in my experience with the people that I know, or that I know that have done them, that's typically been the case.
Huh. I can't say I've noticed a similar thing. My friend's wife actually really enjoyed them with her friend, while he had a horrible experience. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly not the case across the board. It's just my personal observation.
Okay. So I've gone through most of the questions. Are there any more misconceptions about magic mushrooms that you'd like to address?
There are lots of misconceptions about them.
Yeah. So how's one?
Okay,
or
well,
two.
All right, my thing with it is, a lot of people simply don't understand them, right? There's a lot of people out there, they think that, you eat these things and all of a sudden, that they have these wild notions of what these hallucinations that you're seeing are. Oh, I saw dragons, I saw, this, that, but I've never gotten that out of it.
Me neither.
For me, I'll take my dose, I lay down and close my eyes and watch the light show. I mean, there's definitely something going on there, and it definitely lets you get inside your own mind if you use it properly. But people that haven't done it don't understand it, and people are scared of the things that they don't understand.
Yep.
And that goes with mushrooms on the whole. People are absolutely terrified of mushrooms. I had a conversation earlier with people over an Amanita, is Amanita muscaria, subspecies flavivolvata, that somebody found in Colorado, and people just freak. Oh, don't eat that. It's an Amanita. It'll kill you.
All the time.
It'll make you trip.
Every time.
All the time, you know, and it's simply because they haven't actually done the research or they haven't done it themselves to learn about what it actually is.
Hey, I guess this might be a good chance to talk about the Amanita in particular, because some people will call it magic, some people will call it toxic. What actually is it?
It's a delirium. As far as the research that I've done goes, I would classify it as a delirium. It's certainly not a psychedelic. It's a completely different experience. I've personally only done it in low doses, very low doses, and to me it was a low doses. It was kind of similar to having a few drinks.
Mm-hmm.
But my understanding is that higher doses, it's more of a delirium. It's not actually a psychedelic. It's a completely different experience than psilocybin.
So it doesn't contain psilocybin, does it?
Oh, absolutely not. No. Amanita muscaria contains muscimol and ibotenic acid. The ibotenic acid is generally what causes people to have bad reactions to it, the nausea and vomiting and things like that. But if you prepare it properly, you can convert the ibotenic acid into muscimol. The muscimol is the delirium that you want from it if you're trying to get that experience out of it. It's much more easy for your body to process than the ibotenic acid is.
I've heard of people trying to smoke the dried skins if they tear off the skins. Have you ever tried that?
Yeah, that's the only way I've done it, actually.
Okay.
And again, it was low dose, and it kind of felt like being a little drunk. That's about the extent of my personal experience with it, but I've done a fair amount of research, more on how to identify them than the actual chemicals.
Yeah. So you've tried an Amanita. What species was it? Because we don't live in Europe where the actual true Amanita muscaria exists. But there are others that exist with the same chemical compounds. So which one did you try?
Yeah. Well, I have. Okay, the first time I tried it, I'm actually not 100% sure, because it was some Amanita that a friend of mine had ordered online.
Okay.
They're legal. You can order them online. It'll be just dried skin from the cat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last time I did it, it was Amanita muscaria guessowii, variation guessowii.
Okay.
Which is the Eastern North American variant.
Gotcha.
So
cool.
That was the last one I did. And it didn't seem quite as potent as the other. But I don't know.
I've tried.
I'm not sure if there's any validity to that or not.
Yeah, I mean they're tough to identify a lot of the times. They're Amanitas is just a crazy genus, but I've actually tried dried Amanita persicina, the peach-colored.
Oh, persicina, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the southeastern mostly, and southeast and up the eastern coast.
Yeah.
You'll be able to.
Yeah, they're really pretty.
I had a little patch of those in Louisiana, but I didn't have a chance at the time. I was in between places at the time, didn't have a chance to dry them out and try them.
Yeah. So would you suggest drying Amanitas out as the best way to convert the ibotenic acid?
That's my understanding of it, yeah. Heat, I think, or drying them, I think, is typically the way that it's done. And then you can also even just make them a safe inert edible if done properly.
Yeah.
Parboils and water changes, and basically the chemicals are water soluble, so you can just extract them out and leave yourself with just an edible mushroom.
Yeah, great stuff.
I understand supposedly they're pretty tasty. I've not had the opportunity yet. I hardly ever find them.
Yeah.
One of those things I rarely ever find them. So maybe this winter I'll come across some persicina. There's a bunch of pine forest around my mom's place. A bunch of loblolly pine, which is typically what they grow with.
Yeah,
so
pine thickets.
Maybe I'll get lucky this year.
Pine thickets, they grow like weeds in pine thickets. I have a couple spots where it's overwhelming. So, good stuff. Is there anything else you would like to add before we say goodbye?
Trying to think if there's. We've talked a bit about a few things. I think the main point that I really would try to get across to people as far as using psychoactive mushrooms. One is learn to do it properly. There are no bad drugs, but there are bad ways to do drugs. And, that's something that Dennis Mckenna, Terrence's brother, has said over and over throughout the years. You have to learn to do these things properly.
So set and setting.
Set and setting are of utmost importance. Make sure, me personally, I'm typically a solo tripper. I usually like to be by myself and just shut the lights off, maybe either silence or a little music and close my eyes. There's also nothing wrong with using them recreationally. There's nothing wrong with using them for a spiritual purpose. But you need to have that intent for what you're wanting to do, and you need to know your dose. I've seen people say, tell people who've never done it before, take 5 dry grams, take 10, I'm like, that's just ridiculous. I've been doing this for 10 years, and 5 dry grams of cubensis will light me up. It's a monster. And to tell someone who's never done it, take that much is just absolutely
irresponsible.
You have to know. Yeah, it's very, very irresponsible. Everybody's going to react differently.
Mm-hmm.
So, start if you've never done it before, but you're planning on it. Start slow. You can always take more, but once you eat them, they're in there. You can't uneat them at that point. So. It's definitely very, very important to understand how to use these things properly. You don't do this and go for a drive. You don't do these things and go to work. It's not the intent. Unless I do understand microdosing as well. I've done some microdosing, which would be a very, very small amount, enough that it doesn't make you trip out and see things. But might give you a little bit of euphoria, and that's tolerable. But the whole dose, you definitely don't want to be trying to go do a bunch of things on. You're lucky to find your feet when you're on that high of a dose.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, and I really hope that at some point, things get better for the research going on with this stuff, because there's really a lot of really fantastic research going on right now.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's limited though. There's only, as far as I know, in the United States, there's only 3 different places that are allowed to do research with psilocybin, and that's the Hefter Institute MAP, which is Multidisciplinary Action for Psychedelic Studies, and Johns Hopkins University has always been involved in psilocybin studies, and they've shown a lot of promise for a lot of different things. So I really, really hope that it comes around eventually, and people can start to have more access to these as a medicine.
Yeah, that's the hope. And it's making its way there, but it's a long time coming.
it's a long time coming, you know. And again, it's mostly that people don't understand it, and again, people are afraid of the things they don't understand, and you know, some guys that are probably dead now made some laws, you know, half a century ago, and cut everybody, you know, our legal access off to these things.
Yeah.
Which I really, I think it's kind of ridiculous that these are things that have been around longer than humans, longer than we have, and they've only been illegal for 50 years, you know?
Yeah, short time.
In the vast majority of the human experience, this is something that we have always had access to until now. So I think we really need to get back to having that access. Making nature illegal is quite simply unnatural.
It's we could talk about it all day, man. I'm a big advocate, as you might know, but that's it's a long time coming, and that's why I'm doing this kind of work, because the awareness needs to be out there. So I appreciate you.
I absolutely agree. Hey, no problem, man. You know, anytime you want to chat, you know, we can do this again. We can talk about whatever you want, man.
Yeah, it was fun. Hope to see you at Cave Springs Festival.
Yeah, I'm planning on being there. So, you know, hopefully it all pans out, and I'll see you there.